So I'm just out walking my dog, and I'm just over at the school here, and the school on the tarmac has a labyrinth. And I thought I would show you guys how these actually work, because they're not mazes, and what they are perspective and awareness tools. And they would have them in cathedrals and places of reverence. And essentially what you do is, the idea is that you'll follow the path and you'll get to the center. But now what's actually happening is actually a lot more interesting. So we enter the labyrinth at the beginning right here, and as we walk, we move towards the center. So if we were in a cathedral, imagine we're in a big cathedral right now in the central nav, and we are looking at the altar, and then there would be arches on either side. It would go up to the sky. It would look like it was meant for the gods, right? So that's our main perspective. That's what we typically see. Right now I'm seeing a portable, but imagine that this is the altar, okay? So we then first hit our first point, and we turn and we follow this path. And then now when we stand here, we look up, and it's the same thing. There's the altar, but it's slightly shifted perspective, just a little bit. And then we come back down and we turn around and we follow. And now we have a new perspective. So we're not looking at the altar. We're not looking at anything. Right now we've turned back around because this is the entrance here, right? So we'd be looking at the back corner of the room. And then again, we come back and we're right next to the center, and we follow that around. And we reach our next point. Now we get to this point, which is just adjacent to this. So this is now looking this way. So we're getting the other side of the room that would have been behind us. So if I keep going, we do the same thing. Every time we reach a point, and then we get a new perspective. And then we turn around and we get brought back to a previous point that is similar to before, but again, the perspective is shifted. So we're seeing it, but it's a little bit different, because before, if I were to step off to the one next to it, this was our view, right? So we are now in this row, which is the radius is just a little bit larger, but it shifts our perspective, right? So we'll continue, and now we follow the path, and we get to another turnaround. And then again, see, we're just a little bit further off from where we were, and we're on the other side of the main circle. And our perspective has now changed again. So what we're doing each time we follow these, and each time we reach one of these junctions, we're getting a new perspective on our surroundings, right? And we keep coming back to positions we were previously in until we follow. Molly's helping us out here. She's keeping watch. So now we're back at the entrance here. Look, we're on a further radius out. We're trying to get there, and we're further out now. So we just keep following the labyrinth, and our perspective continues to change. So if we were to apply this to everyday life, we often enter a room and we have a fixed focal point, or we're only considered about what's ahead of us. So we need to take some time to get familiar with our surroundings. And what they would say is that one who is able to finish the labyrinth and reach the center is a task worthy of praise of the gods. And I would almost agree, because if you understand the purpose of the activity, it can really change your perspective on life completely. Because it's not always just about what's in front of us. What's in front of us to fucking 6 degrees to the right? And then now we're back at the beginning, right? This is the center. This was our goal. And now we're back at our original view. So it's kind of like growing up a little bit, or it's kind of just like going through life and all the different changes and all the different, things we go through that end up changing our perspective, right? So we need to allow ourselves to not just be so fixed on one perspective, one way of thinking, one way of perceiving the world. Because look at what you're missing. We miss all of these other perspectives. If I was only focused on the one thing there, the altar, then I would have missed everything else. I mean, imagine we're in a cathedral right now, right? But that's kind of the point of the labyrinth. It is not a maze. It's not something to be solved. It's something to be experienced. So I encourage you, if you've ever come across something like this, they have them sometimes, in playgrounds, city parks and stuff like that. I encourage you to walk the path of the labyrinth and get a new perspective on your surroundings.